The following report contains some disturbing images.
If you want to know why so many Syrians are on the move now, it's fear of the war that rages at home and the many ways to die. But there's one threat they were supposed to be safe from: chemical weapons. But we've seen evidence suggesting they're still being used.
Now investigators have been asked to identify which individuals, groups or governments are still involved in the use of chemicals as weapons in Syria. We've tracked down some of those who say they witnessed these incidents.
For the children of Syria, it's not the high seas they must fear, but death on dry land. When Samin was attacked, witnesses say they heard a helicopter, and only the government has helicopters in Syria. But there was no explosion, just casualties. Reports suggest the smell, signs and symptoms were consistent with a chlorine attack. There were dozens of victims. Among them, 6 members of one family. Much of this video is too graphic to show. Doctors struggling to try to revive people. And the 3 adults and 3 small children dying, without a scar on their bodies. Government forces are repeatedly accused of being behind many of these attacks, but they've told us they haven't used any chemical weapons, blaming terrorists instead. Rebel forces and more recently Islamic State also stand charged. The militants have repeatedly attacked Mara, but 2 recent strikes are feared to have involved chemicals. I understand samples have been passed on to the British government for testing. This time the symptoms were different. The fear is that Islamic State has acquired and now used mustard gas.
How do you know that this was some form of chemical weapon and not a routine munition?
After seeing the symptoms, and after talking to many other people who confirmed that mustard gas was used. Symptoms were suffocation, blisters, watery eyes and runny nose. There was a very bad smell as well.
We asked a leading chemical weapons expert to look at this evidence.
The photographs I've seen of both the injuries and the unexploded projectile, as well as the descriptions of the actual incident, lead me to conclude that there's very strong and compelling evidence that this was a vesicant, a mustard agent that was used on this attack.
Few have witnessed the darkness of Syria's war like the men of the civil defence. When there's an attack, they come to the rescue. They've been at more alleged chemical incidents than anyone. We met them in Turkey, where they were getting training. Ibrahim struggles to forget what he saw. The children choking, a pregnant woman who miscarried, and he has no doubts what caused it.
The chlorine issue is now open for the world to see. What kind of strike would make children suffocate? Let's say grown-ups are pretending, but how can 2 months old pretend that they are suffocating? You've seen them in the video, how they're gasping for air. Children from 2 months to 3 years old. This is not an act.
Such images haunt the minds of Syrians. But for Ibrahim and the civil defence team, there's no escape, as he prepares to head home to Syria, to a country consumed by blood and chaos. And as he does, more Syrians are gathering to leave. These exclusive pictures were filmed at the border this week. Families who've endured 4 years of fear, who've been shot at, shelled and gassed. Unsurprising then that so many are now on the move. Ian Pannell, BBC News,